Hey guys, welcome to the channel and I hope you enjoy it. So this is interview 1 with Kiren Modi, who is now a New York based model, but upon recording this she was in London. So I wanted to sit her down before she moved and get pretty much a lowdown on all her experiences leading up to the move. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. It's about 40 minutes long, so if you'd rather listen to this on the go to soundcloud.com/Indy Sagoo photo, where you can also listen to it there. If you like it, share it, please subscribe, it all helps. And yeah, I hope to be bringing you a lot more of these in the future. Enjoy! Also guys, this is the first video I did. The cameras I ordered had not arrived, so I just had to use my iPhone. Goes to show, an iPhone is good enough to get the job done, but at the same time, if you get bored of looking at one angle of just like the side of our faces, I completely understand, I'm sorry, but if you come back for videos 2 and 3, you'll get 2 angles. So yeah, enjoy, see you later. Okay, so welcome. This is episode number 1 of, I don't know what I'm going to call this. So you've been either directed here by me, someone else, or maybe Kiren, I don't know. So this is the first of hopefully a series of interviews with people that I work with, know, or are related to the industry that I work in as a freelance photographer. So we're just going to go through Kiren, how she got into it, her journey, but I'm going to let her take over. So just for anyone who may not know you or discovering for you the first time, could you just give yourself a little intro?
Yep, so my name's Kiren Modi. I've been modelling for about 9, 10 years on and off. Do you want to start with like how I got started? Or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Go for it.
So the way that it all kind of came about was that I first initially got scouted while I was out for a friend's 18th birthday. And we were in a club which I can't remember now, but it feels...
Hold on.
Is it recording?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it was a friend's 18th birthday, and these 2 ladies came up to me, really fashionable, trendy looking ladies, and I was just like, they came up to me and said to me, oh, you're like, you know, we really think that you'd like, you know, work well with our agency. And at that point I was like, agency, have no idea what you're talking about, modelling, no idea.
Yeah.
Didn't know that that's what they were sort of angling for. And then they basically said, look, can we take you on a shoot? Let's do a shoot together. And this was at the point when Sleek makeup had just come out, and they had really good connections with Sleek makeup.
Okay.
So one of the first shoots I did was with Sleek and with the two ladies that scouted me. And since that day, I've still got them on Facebook. They're always very supportive, and you know, they've you know, whenever there's been sort of a milestone in the modelling field, they've always been like, oh, we knew you'd do well, kind of thing, you know, always giving you that kind of like...
They're like your day ones.
Yeah, day ones kind of thing. And then, so I did a couple of shoots with them and, you know, started working like with photographers and people that they knew. And obviously under sort of watchful eyes of the mother and dad and everything. And then... I suppose my sort of breakthrough into the industry, if you'd want to put it that way, was when my dad had kind of entered me into a modelling competition, which was for all the Next directories.
All right.
So that entailed like a full-on sort of voting thing going on, and like I had to do a little pre-photo shoot just for the voting, and then I had to get it was like I got shortlisted from sort of 4,000 people to, I think it was like the top 50 or something. And then on then next to actually put on a full-on day, like runway rehearsals, photo shoots, makeup, all of that sort of stuff. Got to wear a lot of their clothing, and then on the day it got sort of whittled down to sort of 10 people, and so it's 5 boys and 5 girls, and I was one of the 5 girls, and then eventually went on to win it, which I honestly had no idea that was going to happen. I really didn't believe that was going to happen for me, because at that point it really wasn't something I'd even thought about, probably only 2 years prior, really. And then from winning it, it kind of opened up a lot more doors. I went on for the first year and a half with Select Model Management,
Oh, wow.
doing a contract with them through Next. So I did that for about a year and a half, contracting work with Next. So it was doing like the directories. They sent me out to New York to do a shoot for OK magazine. So it was quite a big ordeal back then without any social media.
I was going to say, because it was like 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, social media didn't even exist then. It was kind of one of those ones where
I remember those days.
Yeah. Well, I loved those days actually. Those days were amazing when there wasn't like social media wasn't like the be all and end all. But so this was before social media, and so I think this was actually at the point where Facebook was just coming into its prime.
Right.
So it was all about the Facebook likes and the pages and all of that sort of stuff.
That. Do you want to be a fan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was kind of more based around Next getting sort of another sort of following and that sort of interest on Facebook.
Okay.
And so that went on for about a year, and at that time I was still studying architecture, so it was kind of difficult to juggle the two. Which is why I've said like I've been modelling really on and off for about 8-9 years, because I continued my studies as well.
Yeah.
And I graduated and finished all of that, and then kind of went and I dabbled in the modelling while I was studying. But I was determined to get it finished and at least have something else behind me that I was definitely interested in.
Got you.
And then after that, I kind of went into work, but still carried on with the modelling. And
How
just
did
took
your
on
work
like
colleagues sort of react to you doing that? Or did it even come up?
It depended. It was more like I was quite lucky in some senses with work, because it kind of worked out that I had like, when I first started out and come out of university and decided I didn't want to study architecture at all and I wanted to go more into the fashion field. At that point I had no idea which area, whether it was going to be like behind the scenes doing like the making, or if it was going to be, you know, being in front of the camera. I remember back then being quite lucky in some of the jobs that I had, in that I wasn't working full time as soon as I got out of university. It was kind of like I worked at an accountancy firm for a little while, being just like an assistant, and I had like a couple of days where I'd be free. And also with modelling as well, like once you've come out of a contract and you're a bit more freelance, you're kind of open to using your weekends to work as well, which is what I did. So effectively I had 3 or 4 days at work as an assistant, and then I had the other days to kind of work and as a model kind of thing. So it wasn't like it was plain sailing. It wasn't plain sailing. I wasn't like a full-time model as soon as I came out.
And that's an easy misconception to have.
It is, and I always say that to girls. I mean, like, that's another bit of advice that I always say, you know, like, I wouldn't just jump into modelling and think that you're going to have work consistently throughout the whole of your life. Like, there's only a very few, like, girls that I know, which I've known for a long time, and that's been like sort of 9-10 years, that have only recently, after 9-10 years of modelling, got into more consistent work where they can have like a full-time job in it, you know.
Gotcha.
So I think it's a misconception for sure in the industry, and a lot of the times also that, you know, sometimes the work that you're doing isn't always paid for, you know.
No, there's a lot of spec
there's
work.
There's a lot of work that goes behind having even that social media page that you need to prove that you're a model, and that you know that you're a good enough model to.
I had this as a photographer. This whole
I
past
bet,
year, it was just a case of just shoot every single week to have enough content to put out for every single day, because I was determined to have a kick-ass portfolio by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Thankfully that's happened, but God, would I do it again? Maybe. Maybe. And if you're not certain, this is an indicator of how you really feel as well.
Of course, yeah. I mean, like, I think, to be honest with you, up until this point of me going to New York, I haven't really focused on the modelling. I wouldn't say that I've put my all into the modelling. It's kind of thing. I think I put my all into the modelling when I entered the competition, and I thought that there was an actual possibility of me becoming a full-time model.
Yeah.
And at that point I was very serious about it. But then I think it's quite easy.
Let's just double back quickly, because that's new information for these
guys.
guys. So You're going to New York.
Yes, yeah. So
how did that come about?
So the New York trip, well, the New York visa, and you know that story, it all kind of came about last year. It's always been a goal of mine. That's been a lifelong goal, to live in another country. And I remember when I was much younger, it was Australia, and then all of a sudden it got more refined. And then as it got more refined through the fashion and everything, it became New York.
Right.
So New York has been on the goals list. I would say probably, I think maybe 12, 15 years.
Oh wow,
of my
so
life.
way before you started doing
this is way before even the modelling. Like New York had always been a fascination of mine, and I guess it's all through like the movies that you watch.
Yeah,
and,
it's
you
a
know,
beautiful
like,
city.
Yeah, exactly. You know now,
I
don't
went
you?
there.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, like it's always been sort of on the list to do. And I knew that it wasn't something that I just wanted to go to and visit. I knew that it was somewhere that I've always wanted to live. I just never really knew what my route to get there was. And obviously at the moment, with everything that's going on, it's a lot more difficult, you know, trying to get a visa to work there, and you know, with all the political, you know, circumstances in America. And then it wasn't until I keep forgetting, it's January now, isn't it? So it was the summer of January 2016. The summer of 2016. I'd gone on holiday with my mum and my sister, and we'd gone to New York, and I'd gone to New York just for a family holiday. It was just a nice little girls' trip for us to go away, and I'd met up with a friend of mine that lives out there. She's on a 3-year contract. She's a model from South London. I've actually known her the longest in the modelling industry.
Right.
We worked on a couple of jobs together when we were younger. We had the same sort of issue in that we were both, she's a dark-skinned black girl. Okay. And I'm a dark-skinned Indian girl. That's something that's always been like prevalent in our careers as a model, and always kind of hindered us a little bit in the industry, being in London. And we always used to, I remember like way back sort of 10 years ago, having conversations about how difficult it is being of dark skin, and you know, especially in our cultures as well, how difficult it was, and especially being a model. And when we'd I knew that she was in New York, so I just messaged her and I said to her, look, do you want to meet up? Let's meet up. I haven't seen you for ages. We haven't worked together in ages. Like, you know, I know you're about, let's try and meet up. So we met up, and actually that started like it was like the start of our like sort of friendship, like sort of
2.0.
Yeah, like it really was. It was so great because I guess she'd really sort of convinced me that I could go out there and that I'd be okay over there. And she gave me enough sort of confidence to make me feel like I could do okay out there.
Right.
So after that trip, I came back and I was so energized. I was so sort of like ready to try it out and see what would happen. And so the summer of 2017, I spent 3 months out there. Spent the whole of summer. You met me out there. Do you remember? We had a nice little shoot, like great shoot actually. I loved the shots from there.
You did.
I basically went hunting for an agency. That's literally all I did. I went out there knowing that I'd be out there for 3 months. My friend had basically said to me, you know, the best way to go out over there with the experience that you've got as a model, especially knowing that you'd won a competition, would be the easiest way for you to have a visa and live over there. And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought I'd be a model in New York, living there as a model and on a modelling sort of visa. That was never the plan. But then for it to be that way, and that's how I've got over there, is just craziest thing that could have happened. So eventually, through going to open casting calls, meeting new people, meeting lots of friends, and like they kind of angled me to meet new people as well. There was a lot of like referrals going on, and that's the one thing that I loved about New York and in America in general is that everyone's ready to help and everyone's got their own little hustle, their little grind that they need to do, and they're really willing to like.
Very much like a New York thing.
It is. I think it's also a very LA thing as well. Like it's
yeah, like the coastal streets where everyone needs to sort of like get from. Everyone wants to be here.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone's trying their best to help everyone else that they can to get to where they want to be. And actually, a lot of them Americans are very like intrigued by stories and interested in what you're doing.
Especially because we look a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, like, and especially with an English accent, that works a charm over there. So that worked a lot. And then I eventually got signed to an agency, which I was like thrilled about. Obviously shocked that it even happened because I'd done a lot of searching and hunting and, you know, going to open casting calls, which aren't easy. But meeting a lot of people along the way, and then it happened within like the last sort of 3-4 weeks of me being there.
Okay.
And then they offered to help me out with attorneys and sorting out the visa. And then it just kind of like transpired from there really. And then from that point, I guess it was more up to me settling at the idea of moving over there, but also realizing that I'm going to have to put in a lot of like, well, it was actually more the more difficult thing was like finding all the work that I've done over the 9 years. Like, I just, you know, when you're doing it for so long, you just know. I mean, you obviously have like a portfolio of work that you know that you always carry around with you for castings and stuff, but the visa specifically asks for like published work and you know work that's of notable sort of
because just for those of you who aren't familiar with like the visa process, if you're trying to move to another country in a creative field, they want to see that you're going to bring basically attention and income to that country.
Exactly, yeah.
So for those of you who are coming here or going anywhere, I suppose tear sheets are essential.
Tear sheets are your absolute lifeline when it comes to a visa application. I remember when I got back from the first like girls' holiday that I had done, and after meeting Rachel, she was just like, the most important thing is to have tear sheets. That's going to be the most. So as soon as I got back, knowing that was a possibility of me moving over there on the visa, on the modelling visa that she was on, I'd come back with the main goal being tear sheets. Everything was about the tear sheets, everything was about collecting. Like, you don't realise how many things that you've like sort of bypassed because it's so old to you, but to somebody who's first meeting you on an application, are like, whoa, that's pretty
You've done
like
all this sort of stuff.
like actually.
And just for further clarity, tear sheets are editorials.
So it's more sort of work that you've been published in that you can pull out of a magazine.
I only said that because when I first heard tear sheets, I was like, what?
Exactly. I said the same thing. Like I was like, what's a tear sheet? And then I realised afterwards. But tear sheets are all sort of any work that you could probably sort of like pull out of a magazine. Or it doesn't necessarily have to be a magazine. It could even, like now the way that social media is going,
online editorials.
Online things, like anything any sort of like online magazine, anything that you've been sort of published on that's got a really good following or just sort of proves that you're a model of sort of a certain caliber that you've been on sort of reputable like websites and you know brands and so on. So when I got back the first trip, I was like, right, I need to focus on that. That's what I need to focus on if I want to go out there for the 3 months and find an agency that are going to take me seriously. So I actively went out and did that. And then I got started. So on the 3-month trip that I did in 2017, I went agency hunting. Found the agency that I wanted, and actually got signed to one that I was really like happy to be with, and I was so glad because I'd heard so many good things about them. And the ladies out there are amazing. Like they've been in touch even for the sort of short amount of period I've been back in London for. And the one thing I suppose I could say over there is that like over here now, looking back on it and seeing like how it's all worked for me in terms of being in New York, is that it's a serious business. Like fashion is an actual full-on business over there. You know, even if I'm not talking about just sort of the clothing and the designer aspect and the fashion side of it. It's like talking about like all of the photographers that you work with and and the photographers and the models and the agencies, like they're all making very big money over there. It's not just it's not like a small business. It's not a small business. It's not fun. Well, obviously it is fun, but it's not just for fun. It's not like a side business that someone else is running on top of having another job over here. Over there, it's a full-on business, and they're only going to really take you on if they believe that they're going to make money from you.
Yeah,
you know,
of course. We are assets.
At the end, exactly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you have to realize that is what it's all about. It is all about money. And it's all about making it and what you can do for them, making money for them. You know, and if you can make money for them, that essentially means they're going to be making money for you. That's the way you've got to look at it, kind of thing. But yeah, so they've been really supportive, and so now the kind of application, the visa application and everything that happened was more of a process of me collecting lots of evidence of me working, being a model, mostly just, you know, them proving myself, really. That's all it was.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and then from that point onwards, my agency kind of like helped me with the attorneys. They've got me all, you know, sorted out with the visa now, and now
like the legwork as such.
Say that again.
Like all the bits where you may not know the process exactly.
Yeah.
They just made it as simple as just give us this and we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been so helpful. So that's been the main thing, is that like, you know, they've been able to actually support and help me through the visa process.
And you leave in 2 days.
Yeah, no, so now I'm leaving in 2 days, and I'm like,
Thank you for finding
that's fine, totally fine. But yeah, so now leaving in 2 days, and it's all done and dusted. The application side of it's done. I've got the visa stamped in my passport, so I'm officially a US resident for the next 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of like...
When I next come over, we'll do a little catch-up version of this.
Yeah, no, we should. I think that'd be great. And then you can talk about all the work that I've had since. So... yeah, no, I'm excited about it, really.
That's great. Okay, so outside of modelling, so when you're not in front of the camera, what else do you do?
So outside of the modelling, mostly because modelling isn't, like over here, it's difficult to make a full time out of. The only other thing that I loved doing, and really only found out that I loved doing, was about 4 years ago, which is shoemaking. So I hand make footwear. And I guess maybe that's where, when I realised that I wanted to be in the fashion industry, I kind of wasn't sure which area I wanted to be in.
Gotcha.
So I've kind of dabbled in almost everything now. But I actually really, really love hand making footwear, and it's mostly because I've always been very creative. Studying architecture kind of like gives you the discipline of being creative and designing, and
I suppose the benefit is, you know, if you weren't a model, at least you'd be within the industry because of this skill set.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also what's helped is that because I knew that I wanted to be in the fashion industry, being a model kind of helped also, because you can cross those networks over so easily, you know, like being a shoemaker, like the amount of times where I've used like the connections that I've got through the models that I know that will help me with designers, and then vice versa. It's been, you know, amazing. So it's just been so easy to do, and like the crossovers just made it so much easier. I mean, like we shot together, we did my first collection and shot my first collection together. So, you know, it's all kind of crossed over, and it's actually been really helpful. You know?
And that helps me as well, because now I have product under my belt as well. As well as model photography.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like meshed two industries that I love and have so much experience in.
Absolutely, and that's sort of how you spread your risk almost. It's like, you know, because especially in a visual medium like modelling, there is a life stamp on it. Yeah,
of course there is,
Right, and anyone young enough coming into it would be foolish to think, oh, I'm going to do this forever.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough today, the one thing I would say is that you've got, say, a lot of models who have a great social following, and then when they finish their modelling contract, my next thought is, okay, what are they going to do with this massive following that they've got?
Yeah.
Because to them, they should really realise that that's an asset of influence that they have.
Yeah.
And I am wondering, what would they do next? Because we haven't hit that point with anyone yet.
Yeah, well...
that I know of.
I've
not seen a model sort of like come to the end of their shooting career and then, okay, they're in a position...
What are they doing now? I suppose actually I haven't, actually. But I think the main thing that you want to take from that is that if you've got a great following, you're obviously doing something that people like watching or doing. like irrespective of whether it's the modeling or, I mean, I was actually talking about this to a friend the other day, right? And it was mostly about how I've got obviously a modeling social media account, which is my Instagram, and it's really funny because I actually get a lot more interaction and engagement on my stories when I'm just doing something totally normal, not even modeling related, which is funny because actually that whole account is all about me being a model.
Exactly.
But also I think, like, when you've got a following, I mean, definitely you need to, you know, use it. You know, there's obviously something that you're doing that people are interested in. Your following is getting larger, you know. There's going to be something that you're more passionate about, and I can all of the models that I've met, they've all got something else that they're just as passionate about, and modeling isn't like the be all of their life. Or, I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be fashion related.
Yeah, it could just be anything.
It could literally be anything. Like the girl that I'm living with next year in New York, she's a model, and like obviously that's her full-time job, her full-time income and everything, but her passion is being a bit of a foodie and absolutely obsessed with herbal teas. So her thing is that, and herbal teas couldn't be like any further from the fashion field, really. You know. So
there's a business there. Like you could get into the catering for shoots and making it like, I don't know, model friendly tea.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many routes that she could even go down. I've got other friends that equally, just as if they're into fashion, are into makeup and you know, showing what they're doing while they're models and stuff. So, you know, like that is just as, you know, engaging as, you know, someone that's interested in herbal tea. But actually I think the best thing about this whole sort of social media thing is that you're actually like tapping into someone's like personal life that you're actually interested in, you know. Like
that's what makes it relatable.
That's exactly what makes it relatable, you know. I mean, there's very few sort of, I do love following celebs on Instagram, but actually to me I follow them more out of a sort of maybe a fashion thing,
right?
Or maybe they're doing something that I will not have the chance to do, maybe in that sort of I don't know, I suppose in celebrity world, there's some things that they will
only they get to do, so it's like living vicariously.
Exactly, yeah. But with like making everything so personal, I think you actually get to see the real person, and actually, you know, not everybody is into like going to really nice places for dinner, and not everybody is into. Sometimes people just want to tuck into a McDonald's or a KFC and you know, and just be really normal, you know. But I think that's what makes like social media and you know, models interesting, is that actually they're not always living that model life, and it's very difficult for girls to continuously be following that model lifestyle. I definitely don't, you know. So
yeah, because it's I don't want to be like we blame social media or like whatever narrative it was, but somewhere along the line we have got this notion that we've seen this person be at fashion shows and like not eat or whatever it is that the stereotype is, and because there's nothing else to tell you anything else, we just fill in the blanks of, well, that's what they must be doing all the time.
And I think that to me is the area, the grey area, the bit for me, because I think that's the area where you're coming into having like sort of a lot of problems with the development of how you are as a person and comparing yourself.
The first generation.
Yeah, it is. I think exactly, and I think it's quite a scary thing, and it's definitely something that needs to be addressed a lot better than it is at the moment. Because I think a lot of younger kids are falling into, and I think maybe where I think I passed that whole being social media savvy.
We've grown into it rather than grown up with it. We've had to we lived without it, and now we're like, okay, this is a new thing, we have to adapt to it, exactly, rather than a baby who knows how to take a selfie, or not even knowing how to open up an iPhone. To me is like the scariest thing. But I think like that's definitely a grey area that needs to be addressed. But I think if you're smart, you can definitely use social media to your advantage and do it in a healthy way, you know? There's a couple of girls that I've met when I was in New York that actually
I think have just done an amazing job in what they're doing, and the reason why they've worked and done so well with their following is because they've just stayed true to themselves. They've not really they've not changed themselves as models to be that model lifestyle. They've kept themselves as they are and actually been successful in being that.
That was a piece of advice I gave to someone recently. Their agency was asking them to get a bit more active on social media. And while talking to them, they were saying that they didn't want to come across as fake. So I said, look, just be yourself. And that's enough. That's enough.
More than enough.
Because otherwise, people know. Right? You can't fake it till you make it anymore. People will know.
And I think I've tried. I think I'll be the first one to record myself with no makeup on or like looking like an absolute state, because to me, I don't want to give off this whole lifestyle that, you know, that I live like a glamorous lifestyle, that I'm like, you know, doing amazing things every day. I'm genuinely not. Like, there's very few days where I'm being very glamorous and like, you know, looking always nice and stuff. And I think I spend more days like at home in PJs with my hair up in a pineapple and no makeup on and eating like a slob and like, you know, eating whatever I fancy. Like, there's more of those days than there are glamorous days. And I think at least for me, I know that I'm not being, not fake, but at least like I'm not giving out this lifestyle that
you're being true to yourself.
To me, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. I don't feel like I'm like giving off a lifestyle that I definitely don't lead.
All right,
you know?
Cool. So, just picking up, because we do have a shoot planned, which apparently is going to start in 15 minutes. Time has flown. So I'm going to quickly just run on to a couple of things. So, what is the best piece of advice that you've been given?
Ooh, best piece of advice that I've been given: not to shy away from doing jobs that will benefit you photographically. I think there's a massive like sort of I think there's a grey area with this, is that you don't want to be doing free work all the time, and I definitely don't condone that. But when you're first starting out, there will be a majority of free work, and then as you get better, you know, there will be a lot more paid work. And even to this day, there is. And also, even to this day, me doing it 9 years, I still do free work because, like, to me, it's like content. Also, it's a chance to work with a photographer that you've wanted to work with. Or
it could just be part of your testing cycle, because say like you change your look, all of a sudden you need a brand new book. Exactly.
And there's all of that as well. Like, you know, me joining a new agency, the amount of times that they've asked me to work with new photographers, like, I'll try my best to fulfill it, but you know, your book is only going to be as good as how much work you're willing to put into it. And if sometimes that means you're going to have to put in some extra hours to do a free shoot here and there, do it. I definitely don't shy away from that. Like, I think I see a lot of young girls saying, well, you know, I want to be paid for this, I'm good enough, I don't understand why I can't be paid. But I'm like, well, to me, the reason why is that you haven't proved yourself. You know, you're still a little, you know, young person just entering the world of modeling, and I think
there's a difference in creative industries than they are, say, like you wouldn't say like, oh, do my account, it'll get you great exposure.
Exactly.
No, but it's like, work with this person, and if you can think of off the back of that, they're following, you're following, and more importantly, it needs to be the right following. Because we've all done like collabs where maybe just hasn't worked out. And we've done ones where like you could have 100,000 people following you, but it means nothing. But you could have the 10 right people following you.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, that just makes it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I 100%. Like, there was a makeup artist that I worked with recently, and the reason why I think she does amazingly well is because she's so honest. Like, you know, on her Instagram stories, and just in general, even her blogging that she does. She's so honest, and like, I think that's the
Did you give her a shout out?
Nithya, her name is. She's an amazing makeup artist, and I've worked with her, and she's just got a heart of gold. And I think she just does I think what makes her like sets her aside is that actually, like, when you're watching her stories, you feel like you're with her, or you feel like, you know, and you don't get this whole air of like, you know,
you're being led in.
You're just like, okay, you're like, sometimes she's like recording herself, I don't know, or she's giving a review on a film or something, and like you feel like you're sitting in there watching it with her, you know. And I think like, again, with her, like what she's done is just made it like, you know, very honest, you know. And I think that's like, it's quite difficult to do. Like I hated talking in front of my camera.
It's scary.
It's scary. Yeah, it's definitely. It doesn't matter how much you're
never had a conversation with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how much you're in front of a camera as a full-time job. Like it still doesn't prepare you for the whole stares that you're going to get because you're talking into your camera. You know, to somebody, you're talking into a screen, and then there's people walking past you, like, who is that crazy woman?
Yeah, it's like, thank you for not doing this in public.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, yeah, I think advice is just to make sure, like, you know, just make sure you're always like a step ahead. Like, you know, when you're doing work, like you're doing it because you know, you want to do it and it's going to benefit you. Yeah. You know? One
thing I wanted to pick up on, which you mentioned before we started this, was also about finances and making sure to look after them.
100%. That was like that would be above the last piece of advice. Yeah. Your finances, I always say this, like finances, if you look after it, that, you know, your finances will look after you. And I think
could you give like an example as to how you mean? Like, you mean like smart investments, or just keeping, or not blowing it out?
Not so much smart investments. It's more like, you know, when you're essentially self-employed, you know,
of course.
And you need to just be aware that there will be a tax at the end that you have to pay. There will be, you know, there will be things that you're going to have to pay for in advance. So don't blow all your money, is what I'm saying. You know, it's like, don't think because you've had a good lot of money coming in that, you know, that everything will be sorted and hunky-dory like a couple of months later. It won't be. Always set aside some money. And this, like,
I've always maintained, just put whatever you get, a third of it away.
Yeah. And I would say I was probably terrible at this up until, like, I would say easily like a year ago.
Same.
Yeah, like I really wasn't good at like my finances. Like I was like always, I blow money as soon as I get it, and you know, I just really wanted things and nice things. And actually, I think when I became sort of, actually no, I wouldn't say a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, because when I started up my shoe making and everything, I had to get really serious because I was buying things for the business that like they were all things that I needed to make the shoes. So like I had to be aware of all the things
It makes you appreciate just how much an item costs in wholesale when you're not scaling.
Yeah.
And then you haven't even factored your own time in yet.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all these different elements, but I definitely think if you look after, it doesn't take very much, and especially when you're first starting out, you're not going to have like, you know, loads of stuff that you need to wade through to have like complicated finances towards the end. You just, you know, there's just simple things, keeping your receipts, you know, like, you know, just have a little box of them and just chuck your receipts in. Yeah, it's not really that difficult.
I did that. My accountant's going to hate me.
Yeah, right. So it's just little things that you just need to like keep in mind. Like, you know, it's not, finances are, you know, a big thing, and you know, it's better to kind of keep track of them than you always fearing it. You know, if you're on top of it, then you don't fear it. You've got a kind of control over it, you know. So
that's exactly it. Not knowing what's going to come.
Yeah.
Like you can't affect what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But you can affect how you can deal with it based on the resources you have.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Exactly.
Okay. So
fire away.
On the flip side of that. What's the worst advice you've been given or have been seen that's been given out? I think the age-old one, and it still to this day shocks me, but it's when people say you need to lose weight or you need to do this to your body or do that. I think now we're in a time where I don't think it's correct to live an unhealthy lifestyle. Agreed.
But at the same time, you know, if you do fancy a little KFC every so often, or you know, just it's all about having like a sort of balanced diet. And this is coming from somebody who was like a serious foodie. I like, you know, love my food. I definitely will not say no to anything unhealthy. You know, I'm the first one to go and pick up and snack and pick up anything that's lying around that's free to eat. Like I'm happy to do that. But at the same time, you know, I think it's wise to just be like, you know, if an agent is telling you to lose weight, are you with the right agency? And
there's a difference between, like, if some people have like conditions, there's sometimes you may be going through something and they don't understand. It's a spectrum.
I think that's the other thing. Another thing that I've always really wanted to sort of open up in this whole modelling industry is like, I don't want to call it counselling because it sounds like a really old school way of like doing it, but just like an advice bureau that you could go to for these sorts of things, because I think it's so, because of what fashion and modelling is all about, and it is all about your appearance and the physicality of how you look, like, it doesn't matter however many times you go to a casting and you get all the jobs that you've gone to, the one or the few times where they've said to you, you're not right for our look, those are the times that will always sit with you more than
Because you'll be like, why was it?
Yeah, why was it? Because you're always going to be questioning yourself, and that's the reason why it's such a controversial area in terms of like as a business and a job, is that it's all about you, you know, and how you look, and it doesn't matter how beautiful you are. You could be like you could be a Victoria's Secrets model at the end of the day and still not be right for a job. But I think it's that again is all about like sort of your mental health, and you know, I think just tapping into your mental health sometimes is that is a good one. It goes a long way.
For sure. I mean, like, do you have like a specific like routine or morning routine that sort of helps get you in the vibe?
I don't want to sound like a hippie, you know, spiritual person, because I'm definitely, you know, I'm trying my hardest.
You're from London.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, you know, I'm from London, so I'm not trying to be like overly spiritual, but I am trying a lot more to be a little bit more tapped into my sort of mental health. But I think that has come more from sort of like personal experiences, and with my dad passing away like a couple of years ago, and because he was such a massive part of my life and my like sort of successes as well, I felt like I needed something more, like from my day. I needed some time alone, and you know, I'm not talking time alone like with my phone. I'm talking time alone to not think about anything that's in my phone or surrounding me, but actually just being a little bit more present. And I think I didn't get to that point until like a good couple of years ago, I would say, you know, like I think it became more important after my dad passed away, because I realised just how important your mental health is.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I really do try. I've been very bad since I got back from New York, because it was weird, because I thought New York was just going to be hustle and bustle and craziness. And actually, I think that was the one period, 3 months, where I was like doing so much yoga and meditation, so much of it. And then when I got back, I kind of like fell out of the loop. But I know when I get back there, I'll
it's
be
the culture
like,
there as well.
It is very much so. Like, it's all a massive part of.
It's a point that, you know, there's always that waves of trendiness that come and go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there will always be that small foundation that if it goes out of trend or in, they're always there.
Always there. Yeah. I mean, like there was one session that I went to every Monday in an evening, and it was really nice, because actually the walk there was like through Times Square. And I know when people live there, it's like the most boringest thing in life. It's like going to like going to Piccadilly Circus like all the time. Like it gets boring. But like for me, it was still like such a massive part of my enjoyment of being there, was like walking through and being like, oh my god, I actually live here for a bit now. Like this is all going to become like really normal to me.
I found the same thing as soon as I moved to London. When I'd go back to Birmingham to see my folks, they'd show pictures of like Big Ben or whatever, the Queen's house. I'd be like, I drive like regularly. I didn't realise this.
Exactly, and everything just becomes a bit more normal. And I'm actually a little bit excited for me to become like, oh, that's like my home now. And like to me, it's so normal to see all those things. But that session that I would go to was every Monday of an evening, and I'd walk through, and it'd be a lot of like really good alone time, and it was like yoga mixed in with a bit of meditation. And I think like yoga, I mean, it's not for everybody.
No.
But I definitely think like people can give it a go, you know, like just try it out and see how it sits with you, and then take it from there, I think.
Absolutely. I hate to cut this short, but we have a shoot that's going to start, and I have a feeling that someone's trying to rig me.
Okay, go for it.
So, we've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
But anything we haven't, we're going to cover back when I'm in New York. Either
I like the idea.
I don't know which side of the summer it will be.
Yeah.
Either June or September, around that sort of time.
Well, you know, you've got a place to stay, Indy.
Thank you. But
that's right.
So we've already sort of covered what's next. So yeah, so where can people find you?
So on Instagram, I am Kiren.nm. That is my modelling one. That's going to be all of my New York journey. And then I also have my blog, which is www.highheelshighhopesblog.blogspot.co.uk.
Okay, great. I will link all those things in the appropriate description box on the side, where this is going.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I will basically, what I'll do next after this is I'll put in some highlights of the shoot that we're going to do next, so it's all one big coherent thing. All right, cool.
Sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.